Today, we're going to talk about securities laws. This is probably something that a lot of you would think about like you think about watching paint drying. It's not very exciting, but it's very important, particularly for the growth stage company. For those of you who aren't aware, securities laws relates to those laws that are about how do you raise money, how do you issue ownership, even long-term debt. All of these can be classified as a security under applicable regulations. So we're not talking about law around physical security around doors and locks. We're talking about issuing stock, potentially issuing bonds, other things that are tied to the value of your company and not just merely a sale of an asset like a piece of real estate or a truck. Those securities offerings are regulated. And as we talked about on the shorts here on the channel, you either generally have to register a securities offering or you have to find an exemption. And so it's either in one bucket or the other. Which one are you? And so for the smaller companies, you're usually going to be going after an exemption. And today I wanted to go a little deeper on that. For those who don't know me, I'm Shawn McBride. I'm a business lawyer. I help business owners and leaders do what they want to do with their business. And I spend a lot of time on business law, working with companies about these types of issues. So we want to know which bucket we're in. We're rarely going to register a security at the small company level, right? It's going to be cost prohibitive, too much paperwork, too delayed. An exemption is usually where you're going. Now, there are a variety of exemptions that are available these days, and some recent improvements in the laws have made them more accessible. But you need to figure out which exemption you want to fall under, right? There are multiple choices. And a lot of it depends on whether you're going to bring in accredited investors versus non-accredited investors. Non-accredited investors are those investors that don't have the category of being accredited under federal securities law, which means generally $1 million net worth excluding their home, or $200,000 a year of income, or $300,000 a year of income along with their spouse. So if you can check some of these boxes, and there's some other ones available too, you can become an accredited investor, which opens up more doors and more exemptions. But non-accredited investors, from the company perspective, often complicate things. And so what you're going to be looking at is, what is your company? How do you want to do the offering? Do you want to do it privately without what they call a general solicitation, without telling the world, keeping it very close to the vest? Do you want to do a general solicitation, tell everybody, and broadly advertise it? And then who's going to be buying the stock? And between all of that, and the dollar amount raised may matter for some of the exemptions too. When you mix all that information together among all these categories of exemptions available, your securities lawyer should be able to tell you which exemption might work the best. If you'd like me to do a comparison of exemptions in a future video, comment below. But as always, don't comment on anything that would violate your confidentiality. So if you have a company account and you're talking about, hey, which exemptions are available, well, people might put together your company's doing an offering. So don't put anything confidential in there. But if you have general questions or ideas, drop them below. And so you're looking for the right exemption. And then these exemptions are generally what they call conditional, which is you get the exemptions if you meet the conditions. So you want to be very careful about that step, not just go after an exemption, but to make sure you meet the conditions of the exemption to make sure you qualify. So registered or exempt, most of them are going to be exempt, but then you need to get with a good lawyer to make sure you're complying with the exemption, putting the applicable paperwork in place, giving the applicable disclosures, and make sure you're protected. Again, if you have questions and comments, drop them below, but keep them general in nature. Don't put anything that can identify you or anything that's going to breach your confidentiality because other people will see those comments. I hope you subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you for another video soon.